Health Department expands declaration of measles outbreak to other areas of Luzon, Central and Eastern Visayas. At least 30 private schools in Metro Manila seeking government approval to increase tuition and other fees for the next school year. And the Senate to vote on the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the 2019 proposed national budget this Friday. Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte has directed Health Secretary Francisco Duque to intensify the government campaign on immunization against measles. This is after the Department of Health declared a measles outbreak in various parts of the country, including Metro Manila, several areas in Luzon, Central and Eastern Visayas. Duterte has earlier urged Filipino parents to get their children vaccinated to protect them from diseases. He also encouraged the public not to fear the government's immunization program following the Dengvaxia fiasco.
Because the President ordered a vigorous campaign to promote the complete immunization for children. I think one of the reasons why we have an outbreak of measles is because the lack of immunization on the part of children.
The Department of Health has sought the assistance of the Presidential Communications Operations Office on the information dissemination concerning the immunization program of the government. The representative of Kabayan Partylist confirms that they support the legalization of medical marijuana. Victor Cosare explains why.
Kabayan Partylist Representative Ron Salo hopes that the proposed legislation on marijuana will be approved in the next Congress. In the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, the lawmaker said it is high time the use of medical marijuana be allowed in the country to help patients with severe conditions such as epilepsy and chronic pain. Salo meanwhile believes that the proposed bill on medical cannabis has enough safeguards to prevent abuse and unauthorized use. One of these safeguards, Salo suggested, is that the physician should personally know their patients and their specific conditions. Likewise, the patients and the caregiver should be given proper identification cards.
Hindi po lahat po ng doktor pwedeng magbigay, only those that are authorized by Department of Health.
So merong i-authorize lang na doktor na pwede mong ireseta yan.
Yes,
And
pwede.
yung reseta lang nila ang pwedeng i-acknowledge
Yes.
para mapagbilhan yun amang pasyente.
Tama.
The medical cannabis bill has already passed the lower house, but it is still pending in the Senate. Salo hopes it will be passed soon in the next Congress. Aside from medical marijuana, Kabayan Partylist also advocates the passage of the Universal Health Care Bill, which the group claims should benefit both the rich and the poor. Salo noted that about 90% of the country's population is covered by PhilHealth. The lawmaker said the government still has to work to cover the remaining 10%, citing that all Filipino citizens are entitled to enjoy the benefits of the health insurance. Under the UHC, medical consultations will be given free, and each doctor is required to look for an area or a village where he or she should render service. The bill is now awaiting the signature of President Rodrigo Duterte. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
31 private elementary and secondary schools have submitted their applications for tuition hike for the next school year, according to the Department of Education. Mai Bermudez tells us why.
For the next academic year, it seems that a new burden awaits parents whose children are enrolled in private schools. According to the Department of Education, 31 private elementary and secondary schools in Metro Manila are confirmed to have plans of tuition increase. Their reason, the second wave of the tax reform, which prompted higher inflation, and for the additional salaries of teachers.
Alam naman natin na medyo tumataas yung inflation rate, and they need to operate within a certain norm, and they see it that the most available na step is to have a tuition tuition hike.
According to DEPED, in a petition for higher tuition, a school should prove that 70% of the said increase will go to teachers' salaries, 20% for infrastructure development, and 10% for profit. The request for tuition increase must also undergo consultation with parents and will be subjected to the scrutiny of the Education Department. Last year, more than 200 out of 300 schools in Metro Manila who requested for tuition hike citing the same reason got an approval. Meanwhile, the lawyer of the Coordinating Council for Private Educational Associates said that private colleges and universities may also possibly file for tuition increase. Attorney Joseph Noel Estrada added that this is a way for institutions to level the salaries of public teachers with private school teachers who only depend on their respective regional wage rates.
For the salaries of the private school teachers, of course, they have to comply with the regional wage rates. No? So regionalized yung salaries sa region. So, say for example, yung teacher 1, yung entry-level teacher sa DEPED, that's around 23,500, including allowances na yung basic na 20 plus, and then sa allowances, that's 23,000. Now, the average salary of a private school teacher is only 13,000. But there are regions where their salaries are really very low.
They have to comply with the requirements. And primary is there is a consultation among the parents of their students that they will have an increase of tuition for the next school year.
There are 2,000 private schools in Metro Manila. DEPED admits that tuition hike petitions may prompt parents to transfer their children to public schools next year. But in case massive transfer happens, they said they are ready to accommodate the said students.
Yung credential, Form 137, Form 138, they have, it's explicitly stated that they can withhold.
My Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Several students are complaining about tricycle drivers operating along Katipunan Avenue in Quezon City. John Nano explains why.
Commuters usually complain about abusive taxi drivers that are asking for additional fares above the rate reflected in the taxi meter. But on Katipunan Avenue in Quezon City, commuters, most of them students, are complaining against abusive tricycle drivers. Several students say the tricycle drivers in the area are charging them 40 to 50 pesos even if their destination is just nearby. They said although they come from well-off families and are studying in private schools, overcharging them is just not right.
The regular rate dito is 30 pesos lang dapat. Pero sometimes there are times that they charge us with like mga plus 10 pa, mga 40 for like even if yung distance is quite close, they still charge us additional 10 pesos. And imagine if they keep doing that. So like wala, it's bawas talaga sa budget.
Kasi sometimes po, binibigay ko po ng 30 pesos pero yung mga ibang drivers nag-charge ng 40 or 50. Better na lang to take a jeepney po since 9 pesos.
I came from UP Town and then I was going to my condo and usually alam ko lang po kasi 40 so naghanda na po ako ng 40 pesos. Tapos nung pumunta po ako ng condo ko, sinabi ko, kuya magkano po? Sinabi niya 50.
If other public utility vehicles are being regulated by the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, tricycles are under the jurisdiction of local government units. Under Quezon City Ordinance Number 2757 Series of 2018, regular fares in tricycle is 9 pesos per passenger, while special trips are computed at 18 pesos per trip with an additional 1 peso charge for every succeeding kilometer. Violators will be penalized with 5,000 pesos or imprisonment of 6 months. Authorities will also impound a tricycle of drivers caught overcharging their passengers. Quezon City Tricycle Regulatory Unit Head Robert De La Cruz admitted that majority of the complaints that they are receiving are mostly drivers overcharging passengers. But he also said that as of now, they are yet to receive formal complaints against tricycle drivers on Katipunan Avenue.
Sa tungkol naman sa Katipunan, yung tricycle natin doon, may dalawang toda doon. Wala pa naman kami natatanggap na nag-overcharge sa mga tricycle natin doon.
Apart from overcharging, tricycles in the area are also traversing on the national highway, which is being prohibited by the Department of the Interior and local government, as well as other traffic law enforcement agencies. The DILG earlier ordered the local government units to prohibit tricycles from traversing on national highways and other major roads. In a statement, DILG Secretary Eduardo Año pointed out that tricycles should not ply on the roads with a minimum speed requirement of 40 km per hour. But if there is no other route and tricycles really have to traverse on the national highway, they should seek first approval from the City Council in accordance with the guidelines of the Department of Transportation.
May pinayagan kami dahil meron kaming meeting sa MMDA. Noong una kasi, hinuli sila. Pero yung mga tricycle natin doon, may franchise sila doon. Meron silang rota. Kaya pinagbigyan naman kami na yung iikot sila.
For complaints against abusive tricycle drivers in Quezon City, they just have to personally file a formal complaint before the QCTRU so that the authorities can act on it.
Dumiretso na po sila dito para makuha namin yung complaint nila at huliin namin po yung kino-complaint nila. May numero yung tricycle.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Senator Panfilo Lacson disclosed that the alleged pork barrel in the 2019 proposed national budget remained untouched. This is despite his continuous opposition to pork insertions. Here's why from Nel Maribojo.
Senator Panfilo Lacson expressed dismay over the result of their caucus with other senators last night. According to Lacson, who had been advocating against pork barrel, Senate Committee on Finance Chairperson Loren Legarda did not present to the Senate what she and her counterpart in the lower house, House Appropriations Chairman Rolando Andaya, had agreed upon during their small group BICAM. The senator believes that the 160 million peso per House member and billion peso insertions remain untouched in the proposed budget. This is aside from the 23 billion insertions made by some senators in the Department of Public Works and Highways. According to the senator, no matter how hard he argued, still he only has one vote. But he said he still believes that some of his colleagues have the same position as his. Nevertheless, some amendments that the Senate placed in the bill also remain in it. These include the realignment of the appropriations for flood control projects to capital outlay for the purchase of dredging machines, the funding for 240-day-a-year school feeding program, and the additional allowance for teachers, among others. Still, Senator Lacson is hopeful that President Rodrigo Duterte and his economic managers will scrutinize the final version of the budget and that the chief executive will veto the line items which are clearly pork insertions. Senator Nancy Binay, on the other hand, said it is better to wait for the final version of the Bicameral Conference Committee in their final meeting tomorrow. After the final BICAM, the two chambers of Congress are scheduled to ratify the 3.757 trillion peso 2019 proposed budget tomorrow.
Malaking epekto nito sa ekonomiya natin pag natuloy itong reenacted budget. So, kumbaga, by tomorrow, hopefully, meron na tayong 2019 budget.
Nel Maribojo, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Up next on Y News. COMELEC defers the canvassing of votes on the second leg of the plebiscite for the Bangsamoro Organic Law in Lanao del Norte and North Cotabato.
UNTV adds another page in history of broadcasting with its use of an underwater drone. Monokson explains why.
UNTV pioneered drone journalism in the Philippines in 2013. During the onslaught of Typhoon Yolanda, viewers were given a picture of the devastation in a different perspective uncommon to traditional news reporting. Through the years, UNTV has shown the public the beauty of the different places in the Philippines, the extent of damages brought about by illegal mining, the massive fires, the raging volcanoes, and other important events in the country. This year, UNTV has set another milestone in Philippine broadcast industry with the use of a remote-controlled underwater vehicle or ROV drone. This can be used in exploring the beauty of aquatic bodies and the problems that water creatures are suffering as a result of urbanization. Such is the case in Manila Bay, when UNTV explored its seabed to reveal the extent of the damage in its underwater environment. During UNTV's digital interactive broadcast, the station's drone journalism chief, RG Purisima, described how the underwater drone struggled during its exploration in Manila Bay.
Ang makikita nyo po sa seabed is puro burak, puro maraming mga basura. Katunayan nga kuya, pag ahon ng drone natin, lahat po ng LEC, ito po, lahat ng LEC natin, itong tatlong LEC, punong-puno ng basura.
Wow. Mabuti, umandar pa.
Puro mga plastic.
UNTV's underwater ROV drone can reach as deep as 150 feet underwater. In Manila Bay, the drone was just reaching about 10 feet deep, but the surroundings were already zero visibility.
Kahit pala kung mag-dive dyan, halos zero visibility. Ayan ang ilalim, halos. Ayan na yung...
Apa.
yan, talagang...
Meron po diyang kuha, kuya, pakala mo corals, parang corals na mga basura. May kuha po dyan nun Then yung iba, puro burak na talaga.
Ayan yung sinasabi mo. Parang, parang... Parang ang, basura reef.
UNTV drone journalism is the brainchild of the company's chief executive officer, Daniel Razon, who has contributed a number of innovations in the Philippine broadcast industry. UNTV is proud to be the only TV station that was given 3 licenses by the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines in June 2018 for its drone pilots, drone units, and for the company. These certificates attest that all drone units of UNTV are safe to use and can be used for commercial purposes like in news broadcasting. Mon Hokson, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Some lawmakers believe that the government should first focus on rehabilitating Manila Bay before approving any reclamation projects. This is following reports that several companies are planning to apply for necessary permits to develop portions of Manila Bay. According to Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel, reclamation projects may threaten Manila Bay and further destroy its already heavily polluted waters.
We are saving the bay, kaya nga tayo nag-Manila Bay clean up, not only sa shoreline but also the quality of the water. Any reclamation project disturbs the ecology.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources has earlier denied that Manila Bay rehabilitation is a prelude to any reclamation initiative that the government is allegedly preparing for dozens of infrastructure projects. The Senate has allayed fears that there will be no honoraria for public school teachers who will render their services as members of the Board of Election Inspectors in the May midterm polls if the government continues to operate on a reenacted budget. According to Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation Chairperson Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel, there are enough funds to finance the upcoming polls, including the election duty allowance of teachers, even if Congress fails to approve this year's national budget. The assurance came after the COMELEC said that there will be profound impact and the additional benefits of election workers and teachers will be in jeopardy if Congress will not pass the proposed 2019 budget.
It is for the conduct of elections. Union line. So I think the COMELEC chairman and the NBank are both empowered to fill up the details. Basta the money will be there, it's more than enough.
The Commission on Elections today deferred the canvassing of votes in the recently concluded second round of the Bangsamoro plebiscite. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The Commission on Elections, as the National Plebiscite Board of Canvassers, convened this morning for the second round of Bangsamoro plebiscite. But just after 2 minutes, they declared a recess and deferred the canvassing of votes. This is because the NPBOC has not yet received the certificates of canvass from the 6 towns of Lanao del Norte and 67 barangays of North Cotabato. COMELEC said they will resume on Monday, February 11, for the tallying of certificates of canvass from Lanao del Norte and North Cotabato, where the second round of plebiscite was held.
And will resume its session on February 11, 2019 at 2 p.m. We expect to finish our canvass by that time. Meantime, the reception and custody group will receive the COCs as they come and report to the supervisory group and secretariat. So ordered.
Meanwhile, COMELEC announced that the printing of ballots for the May 13 midterm elections will start on February 9, Saturday, at the National Printing Office. According to the poll body, their schedule is not tight for the printing of ballots. As a matter of fact, it is days earlier compared to the printing of ballots set during the 2016 elections.
If we start on February 9, then we're still, 3 days early, considering that again in 2016 we started on Feb 12 and we were able to deliver the ballots on time.
COMELEC has also clarified that the name of Senator Loren Legarda will still appear in the ballots, although the COMELEC 2nd Division has already decided over the petition against her disqualification. The poll body reasoned that there is no final decision yet, as it was only the COMELEC 2nd Division that junked the disqualification case. It can be recalled that Legarda's 2 opponents in running as representative of the Lone District of Antique filed a disqualification case questioning her residency.
It's only a 2nd Division decision, which means that it is not yet final. So there can be an appeal taken from it, which means wala din siyang practical impact doon sa kandidatura.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Congress has ratified the bicameral conference report for the Safe Spaces Bill, which seeks to penalize catcalling and gender-based sexual harassment in streets, public and online spaces, workplaces, and educational institutions. The bill also seeks to penalize offenses including sexist slurs, unwanted comment on one's appearance, relentless requests for one's personal details such as name, contact and social media details, or destination. The measure will also criminalize the use of words, gestures, or actions that ridicule on the basis of sex, gender, or sexual orientation, the persistent telling of sexual jokes, use of sexual names, comments, and demands, and any statement that has made an invasion on a person's personal space. If enacted into law, violators may face up to 6 years of imprisonment and a fine of not more than 100,000 pesos. Both houses of Congress are yet to submit the ratified version to President Rodrigo Duterte for his signature. Up next on Y News. U.S. President Donald Trump expects announcement of ISIS militants' total defeat as early as next week. Maduro regime blocks Venezuela border crossing as desperate residents await humanitarian aid shipments. And world's iconic monuments get recreated using scrap metal. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Angelo Castro III. Good evening.